Have you ever had an evening where everything looks the same, yet something inside you feels different? No clear signs, nothing big enough to name, just a very subtle feeling, like something is shifting, somewhere deeper than your thoughts. And the interesting part is, the more you try to explain it, the further it seems to slip away. People like Aquarius tend to trust clarity, you trust logic, you trust what can be understood. But there are moments when change doesn't arrive with answers. It arrives as a feeling, a slight shift in the way you see things, a longer pause between familiar thoughts, a feeling that's hard to describe, yet somehow deeply real. And maybe what's happening isn't a dramatic turning point. Maybe it's something much quieter, a gentle adjustment, just enough to begin changing the direction within you. If you've been sensing something like this, even just a little, then maybe tonight's story will touch a part of you haven't had the chance to look at yet. And everything begins with a feeling that's hard to name. You know, there are evenings that pass by like any other. The lights are still on, just like always. The sounds around you haven't changed. Everything seems exactly the same. And yet, somewhere deep inside, something feels different. Not a clear thought, not a strong emotion you can easily name. Just a very subtle shift, like walking into a familiar room and suddenly realizing the atmosphere has changed. You can't quite point to what it is, and maybe you don't need to. Aquarius tends to seek understanding. You like to see the bigger picture, to connect the dots, to find meaning even in things that feel invisible. But there are moments when life doesn't move that way. Some shifts don't need a reason. Some changes don't come with explanations. And the only thing you can do is listen. Not to the noise outside, but to yourself. Because sometimes every answer begins from something unclear, something you can only feel. You may notice it in how you respond to familiar things. A sentence that once stayed with you now feels lighter. Something that once mattered deeply no longer holds the same place. Not because you've grown cold, but maybe you're changing the way you connect with everything. And that kind of change doesn't have to be big. It doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't need to be understood or confirmed by anyone else. It only needs to feel real to you. Maybe this is how your inner world begins to adjust itself. Like the surface of still water, calm and quiet, while underneath, the current is slowly changing direction. You don't see the whole process, but you can feel it. Something is moving. And what's interesting is, the more you let go of trying to understand it right away, the closer you get to what it really is. Because not everything needs to be explained in the moment it happens. Some things only become clear when you allow them to exist without naming them. So, if tonight you feel just a little different, don't push it away. Don't rush to explain it. Just stay with that feeling a little longer. Because maybe from something so quiet, so subtle, something real is beginning. Recently, you may have gone through more than you ever said out loud. Not because there was nothing to say, but because not everything can be put into words. Some silences lasted longer than usual. Conversations paused halfway. Not because there was nothing left, but because you realized you didn't want to continue in the same way anymore. Maybe it was a connection that once felt familiar, but slowly became distant, in a way that's hard to explain. No major conflict, no clear reason. Just a quiet sense that you and that person are no longer standing in the same place. Or maybe it's the feeling that you no longer belong to the very space that once felt like home. A job, a familiar circle, an older version of yourself, and you begin to notice you're still there, but something inside you has already started to leave. Aquarius. You're not someone who reacts loudly. You observe more than you express. You understand more than you say. So, instead of making things louder, you choose silence as a way to hold everything within yourself. But there's something very real. What you've been through doesn't disappear just because you don't talk about it. Every emotion left unnamed, every thought you set aside, every time you told yourself, it will be okay. It all stays, not loud, not demanding. It simply settles, like layers of sediment at the bottom of still water, slowly, quietly, building over time. And then there come moments when everything becomes still enough for you to finally notice how much you've been carrying, not to weigh you down, but to help you see more clearly what's truly inside you. And maybe tonight is one of those moments. Nothing special needs to happen. No big event is required, just a slight slowing down, and suddenly, you begin to hear more clearly what you've kept quiet for so long. And maybe what matters isn't how much you've been holding, but that, for the first time, you're allowing yourself to truly see it. And then, as you begin to notice what you've been carrying, something else quietly begins to appear. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a very small shift, but enough to let you feel that something inside you is no longer standing still. Change doesn't always arrive like a crashing wave. It doesn't always come with clear signs you can recognize right away. Sometimes, it begins as a passing thought, so light, you almost miss it. A moment when you pause in the middle of familiar thinking and realize you don't want to follow the same direction anymore. An old memory returns, but this time, it doesn't weigh on you the way it used to. Yeah, you look at it, like a story that once belonged to you, but no longer defines who you are now. And maybe, somewhere within you, a very quiet sentence appears. Maybe. I don't need to try as hard as before. Not giving up, not walking away. But a subtle shift. In the way you meet life, you're no longer trying to prove something to others, no longer forcing yourself to fit into what once felt right in the past. Instead, you begin to allow yourself to choose again. Choosing how you respond. Choosing what you keep. Choosing what you gently let pass. Aquarius. You're used to understanding things clearly. You want to know why you feel this way, why things are changing, where all of this is leading you. But maybe, this time, it doesn't need to be understood right away. Not every movement needs an explanation. Not every change needs a name. Some things just need to be felt, like standing in a soft breeze. You don't need to know where it comes from. You just know. It's touching you. And within those very subtle shifts, something deeper is unfolding. Not pressure forcing you to change. Not circumstances pushing you forward, but a quiet kind of growth coming from within you. You begin to see more clearly what truly matters and what can be released without regret. Not because you no longer care, but because you understand. Not everything needs to be held onto for you to become yourself. And maybe what's happening isn't a sudden transformation, but a very gentle adjustment, like a current slowly changing direction, steady and certain. You don't need to rush. You don't need to move faster. Just recognize you've already begun to change. And sometimes, the smallest shifts are the ones that lead you to the most meaningful turning points in life. So, if you've been feeling this, even just a little, then maybe you're closer than you think to a new version of yourself. And then, as those changes begin to feel clearer within you, something else quietly starts to emerge. Not everyone around you will notice. On the outside, everything seems the same. You are still you, calm, thoughtful, keeping just enough distance from the world. From the outside, people may not see anything different. They still recognize you in the way you speak, the way you respond, the way you show up in familiar spaces. But you know. Something has changed. Not a dramatic transformation, not a decision you've announced out loud, just a very deep shift in a place no one else can see. You begin to notice you no longer want to hold on to conversations that no longer carry meaning. Not because you've become cold, but because you understand. Your energy deserves to be placed where there is real connection. You also no longer feel the need to explain yourself to everyone. Not because you're closing off, but because you've realized not everyone needs to understand every part of you for you to live truthfully as yourself. And maybe one of the clearest changes is the way you see conflict. Things that once made you want to prove who was right no longer carry the same weight. You haven't lost your perspective. You haven't become indifferent. You've simply stopped needing to win every conversation, because somewhere deep inside, you've begun to choose peace over being right. And that is not weakness. It's a different kind of strength, a quiet strength, but a steady one. You don't need to raise your voice to prove your worth. You don't need to stay in places that no longer fit. You simply adjust, like someone who quietly leaves a room when they realize they no longer belong there. No long explanations, no need to create noise, just a step away. And maybe, from the outside, it looks like you're letting go, but from within, you know very clearly this is not loss. This is you, choosing yourself again, choosing to live a little lighter, choosing what truly matters, choosing a version of you that no longer needs to try to become someone else, and that, even if no one else sees it, may be one of the deepest changes you've ever gone through. And as you begin to notice these changes, something very natural may start to happen. You feel the urge to speak, to share, to find someone to explain this feeling to, but then a part of you slows down. Not because you don't trust anyone, but because it feels too early to put this into words. Not everything needs to be shared right away. Some feelings, when they first appear, are still fragile. And if you speak too soon, even you may not fully understand what you're trying to say. So instead, you choose to hold it. Not to hide, not to create distance, but to give your emotions enough space. To breathe. Aquarius. You don't have to explain your feelings to the world. Not everyone needs to understand what you're going through right away. And not everything meaningful needs to be validated from the outside. Some things, the more they are held in quiet, the clearer they become. It's like sitting alone in a silent room. And suddenly, you begin to hear what was once drowned out by the noise around you. Feelings are the same. When they are not rushed into being named, not explained too soon, they slowly reveal their true nature. And you only need to be there, listening. Maybe what you're feeling isn't something that needs a decision right now. Not a turning point that has to be announced, but something forming, very naturally within you, like a seed, resting quietly beneath the soil. No one sees it. No one knows exactly when it will begin to grow. But that doesn't mean it isn't growing. It simply needs time and stillness. So, if you feel the need to keep something just for yourself, that's okay. You don't have to rush to find answers. You don't have to turn every feeling into words right away. Just allow yourself to stay with it a little longer, because sometimes the most meaningful things in life don't come from what you say out loud. They come from what you're patient enough to quietly understand. And maybe, in that quiet, a very real part of you is becoming clearer than ever before. And then, as the night begins to settle, as the sounds around you grow a little softer, you may start to notice something within you is becoming still in its own quiet way. If tonight you feel a little different, even just slightly, then maybe that feeling is not meaningless. You don't have to understand it right away. You don't have to rush to turn it into a decision. Some things in life don't come for you to react immediately. They come to ask you to pause, to listen, to notice what you've been through and where you are now within your own journey. Aquarius. You don't have to change overnight. You don't have to become a completely different person in a single moment. The things that truly matter rarely happen in a rush. They grow through small movements, repeated, quiet, but deep enough to shift the way you see the world. And maybe, what matters most isn't what happens next, but whether you're ready to step into the version of yourself that's waiting when it does. Not a perfect version, not someone without scars, but a version of you who understands yourself a little more, who treats yourself a little more gently, and no longer feels the need to force yourself into something that isn't true. From the outside, tonight may look like any other night, but on the inside, something has shifted, very softly, very quietly, but real enough for you to feel. And sometimes, the most important beginnings in life don't arrive with loud moments. They begin in stillness like this. If you've stayed until this point, then maybe something in this story has touched you. You don't have to understand everything. Just hold on to whatever made you pause. That's enough. And if you feel like it, leave a small sign below this video. No need to explain much, just to know you felt something too in your own way. We'll meet again in another story when you're ready for what comes next.